Good morning. Such a blessing for me to be here with you today. Thank you so much. I hope everyone's doing well. I am so excited about what's about to happen. We're going to have a blast, but my first order of business is to thank you. And that's to thank you for each and every one of you being here, for sharing with me your most precious commodity, your most precious resource, and that's your time. My name is Trevor Trokey, and I'm a peak performance strategist. My goal here today is to share with you all 4 powerful strategies that you can implement immediately that will transform your life. First, I want to let you know that by being here today with an open mind, you are an expert at what you do. Your mastery of the basic skills has brought you to your current level today. Now, would you agree, though, that no matter how successful you are, no matter how much money you're making, no matter how long you've been doing what you're doing, wouldn't you agree that there is always room for improvement, that there's always room for us to pick it up a notch? Of course there is, or else you wouldn't be here. Now, the 4 strategies I want to share with you today are strategies that are used by people who are successful in life. These are legitimate techniques. These are tools that you can use. These are tools that will make you better. This is real. This is completely legitimate stuff. But I can blabber on all day about how to improve your life, and if you're just sitting there kind of hearing me without listening, it's not going to make any kind of difference. You see, when we listen passively, we only retain about 7 to 10%. And the alternative is active listening. You need for you to be an active listener. And this means raising your hand when I ask a question, maintain eye contact with me, answer some of my questions, especially take notes. Even if you throw your notes away on your way out of here today and never look at them again, just the act of writing it down, just the act of, taking action as a listener, these physical activities imprint this information associated with those actions on your brain, and you will be able to reach into your mind's files and access more like 75 to 80% as opposed to just 7 to 10%. And you think that's worth it? Good. Alright, so let's get that process going by taking out a pen and paper right now. Borrow them from your neighbor if you need to. While you're doing that, would you agree with me that successful people are doing certain key things on a day-to-day basis that separates them from the people who are struggling? Absolutely, and this applies to every area of our life. If you see someone doing well on any level in business, relationships, whatever else, it's not an accident. The opposite is true, though, as well. People who are struggling to get by are not struggling on accident. Now, let me explain this really quickly, if I may. America is the land of opportunity, right? Now, does that mean that we're all born into a world where everything is sunshine and roses and we have everything we need to do everything that we want to do? No. People have to work for it. That's how life's supposed to be. That's what makes America such a great country. What's interesting is that history shows, in fact, that the people who rose to the occasion rose from nothing. And those who fell to nothing fell from riches, more often than not, as a general statement. Now, there are exceptions to both. Rich people have succeeded. Poor people have become poorer. But it's based on their life choices, not their circumstance. And this takes us to our first strategy, and I want you to write this down. The power of belief. How many of us have heroes from history in any aspect? Dr. King Jr., Winston Churchill, Thomas Edison. It could be anyone, a politician, a civil rights activist, a soldier, an artist, a family member, anyone you look up to and admire. Does everybody have that person in mind? Okay, now think about that person and why they are your hero. What did they do? What did they overcome? What was their starting point? How many of us would like to be those people? Famous people, heroes, legends for generations to come. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? You see, everybody seems to want to be somebody. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. That drives you. The problem is that nobody seems to want to be themselves. Because how many of us look at these people and think that it's an unattainable goal to be that good or to be like them to be that kind of legend? How many of us think that that is an unattainable goal just because we're just normal people? But now I want to ask you a question that'll help maybe give some insight on that thought process. Who's typically the most excited and fired up employee? It's the new guy, right? He almost always outproduces, outworks, outperforms everybody else in the company. It's the new guy. And it's not because he's the best at his job. It's not because he's making the most money. In fact, he's almost always the farthest away from those things, right? He's the bottom of the totem pole. But he's more excited to be at the bottom than the guy at the top is to be at the top. But then what happens? Something shifts, something changes, doesn't it? And it's subtle, but it's monumental, and we need to take notice of it. Does anybody know what changes the new guy? It's when they talk to the veterans. Because the older employees inform the new guy that it's not easy to be successful at their position. And moreover, they tell the new guy just how hard it is with the economy, the market, the company, the competition, the office politics, whatever. And this new guy, this new excited guy who's doing great, becomes socially conditioned and stops performing. His whole attitude is reversed because he's fed doubts that we're going to call limiting beliefs. Take a minute and think about just one of these limiting beliefs right now, that if you shifted this belief, if you abandoned this one limiting belief, that it would impact your life for the better. Think about this one thing that's keeping you from being the best possible you, and ask yourself some questions. Ask yourself, how long have you had that belief? Ask yourself what that belief, what that limiting belief is costing you in your profession, your finances, your health, your relationships. Think about it, just how much is missing in your life because of that one limiting belief. Write that belief down. Now, that's kind of depressing when you think about it, but not to worry, it gets much brighter when I show you what happens when we crush those limiting beliefs and break out of our shells. Who here is familiar with the name Roger Bannister? He was an athlete and a runner, and in fact, he was the first human being to ever break the 4-minute mile, and he did it back in 1954. Does anybody here know the limiting belief that he had to overcome? It was believed to be humanly impossible to run a 4-minute mile. No one had ever done it before. In fact, medical journals and scientists said that the human heart would physically, literally explode inside the chest cavity. That was the limiting belief at the time. But you see, Mr. Bannister didn't succumb to that limiting belief. He had the power of belief that he could do it. And he did it. And he lived. You see, breaking through our limiting beliefs is one of the truest, purest, and most powerful testaments to the power of the human spirit. And Roger Bannister is certainly an inspiration for breaking the 4-minute mile. But you know what? That's not even my favorite part of the story. Does anyone know what happened the next year that had a direct correlation with Bannister's success? 37 more people ran a 4-minute mile. The year after that, 200 people broke it. It continues today. Kids in high school are breaking the 4-minute mile. What gives? What happened in 1954 that changed what was possible? I'll give you a hint. It was not Nike's new line of running shoe. That's not what changed what was possible. You want to know what changed what was possible? It was what was believed to be possible. There's a fancy term for this even. It's called social proof, and it's really simple to understand. Social proof just means that if Roger Bannister could do it, I can do it. This is important because you can do anything you want to in life. You can be the Roger Bannister. You can be the people who saw what Roger Bannister did and do it for yourself. You can do anything with one exception. There is one thing that you cannot ever do, and this is very important to understand. You cannot ever outperform your belief system. and I need to say this again for you, you cannot ever outperform your belief system. It is impossible to do something that you don't believe that you can do. This is so crucial to understand. This is huge, really. But not in a depressing way. This should be encouraging, because who controls what you believe? You do. How quickly can you change your belief system? Instantaneously. You see, you can never outperform what you believe you can do, but what you can do is change what you believe you can do. Change what you believe is possible. In fact, the people who are in this room right now, people who are here to win this coming year, to succeed, to change their life for the better, are changing their limiting beliefs right now. In fact, let's go back to those limiting beliefs of ours. Take a moment to remember what your limiting belief is costing you. Contemplate for a moment what it would be worth to obliterate that limiting belief right now and trade it in for an empowering, I can believe. Well, now what? Well, first, let's make sure that we're all on the same page, considering that we can change our beliefs right now. Do we all agree that it is worth it to stop telling ourselves that I can't and start telling ourselves that I can? Of course it's worth it. You have to do that if you want to improve yourself. And that's the first step. But that step is useless without the second step. And I want you to write down the second step. The power of action. Because how does the saying go, right? You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Now understand that telling yourself that you can is essential. But once again, it is useless to tell yourself you can do something until you actually do it. Talking must be followed by doing. Now, easier said than done, though, right? And how fitting, because that's quite literally the conundrum at hand. Talking is easier than doing. That's the point we're making, but I'm going to show you how. By show of hands, how many of us know someone who's always saying what they should do, but then they never follow through? It's kind of annoying, because how many of us are that person? You see, those heroes that we all have that we were talking about earlier weren't the best looking people, they weren't the richest people, they weren't the best at what they did, they weren't the smartest, they weren't the most educated, but that's why they're heroes. That's why I have so much respect for those people, because they get themselves to do the little things daily. They make themselves take action and achieve results. They weren't heroes. They didn't do great things because they didn't have any obstacles to overcome. They're heroes because they did great things despite the obstacles they overcame. Going back to Roger Bannister, he could never have run a 4-minute mile if he believed he couldn't. That was his first obstacle. But if he just sat on his sofa telling himself that he could run a 4-minute mile, does that get it done? No, he had to train hard every day. Just like his belief, though, who was the only one who could change whether or not Mr. Bannister acted on his belief? That's right, Roger Bannister is the only one who could change whether or not Mr. Bannister acted on his belief. And so who's the only one who can get you to take action? You! I can stand here all day, I can tell you what to do, how to do it, but I can never make you do anything about it. You can lead a horse to water, right? But you can't make him drink. In fact, that's not even my goal here today. I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do that. You know already what you need to do. You know how to do it. That's not the problem. I'm here to show you how to tap into who you really are, to tap into that hero within you, to tap into the highest version of yourself, to be the best that you can be. I'm here to share with you how you can reach your goals, and more importantly, how you can be fulfilled in the process. In order to do that, we have to tap in to our third strategy. And that's the power of focus. I want you to write this down. The power of focus. It's interesting, everyone seems to want to know that one magic formula that will impact their whole life. That one special ingredient, right? That unlocks the door to transformation. Tony Robbins was once asked that exact question, and this is how he answered it. He said, "In business and in life, most people live in a space called no man's land." He went on to explain that it's like your comfort zone. No man's land is when you are not totally satisfied with where you are, but the challenge is that you are not totally unsatisfied either. You are not unsatisfied enough to take immediate action and do something about it. As one of my professors once put it, you will never change who you are until you are disgusted with who you are. It sounds harsh to be disgusted with yourself, right? But it is absolutely true. As long as we are complacent, we create the illusion for ourselves that everything is okay and that we are just coasting along life's happy highway, never realizing that the moment that we become complacent, the moment we are not satisfied with where we are, but are not unsatisfied enough to take immediate action to do something about it, is the moment that we become lost hopelessly in no man's land. Tony Robbins defined this as when you are aware of all the things that you should be doing, but never do them. He said the only way we feel truly fulfilled in our lives is when we are growing and challenging ourselves. All you have to do is raise your standards. Well, that's great, Tony. What does that mean? Well, that means that as soon as you can take all of those things that you should do, whenever it's convenient, and turn them into musts. Focus on taking those things from rung 1, where they sit comfortably on our eventually list, and put them at the top of our going to do today list. Condition yourself so that whatever that voice in your head says, I should, shake it out, beat it out, do whatever you have to do to replace that should voice with a voice that says, I must. Because if you don't do that, then things stack up on you, and it becomes like my relationship with the dishes. Now let me explain. 2 dishes, 3, 7, 10, 12 dishes pile up, and with each dish that I add to that number, I tell myself I should really do these dishes before they pile up any bigger. And then I walk back to the couch, I sit down and turn on my video games. More pots and pans get added, more dishes get added, more silverware gets added. I should really do these before it gets any bigger. Then I sit down and watch Netflix. And before long, I walk into the kitchen to get a paper plate so I can make myself a quesadilla. And I notice the impossible monster of dishes and muck that I don't have even the slightest desire to wash. You see, in order to be successful, we have to do what I call prevent the pileup. Because the size of the obstacle seems to have a direct impact on our willingness to overcome it, doesn't it? But by implementing the power of belief in action, we can drive ourselves to focus on our must-do list, because we must do them right then. As soon as we think we should, we must. If we focus on that, we can prevent the pileup. And just like our first 2 strategies, the only one who can focus you on the task at hand is you. Now, once you've implemented that power of focus, you are ready to hone our 4th, final, and my personal favorite strategy that is essential for unleashing the power within. I want you to write this down. Strategy number 4 is the power of decision. I want you to think about the following statement. Plans change. Decisions don't. I'll show you what I mean by that. How many here have planned out their workday? How many have planned a family dinner, a family vacation? Who's planned a wedding or planned a house? Now, out of 10, how many of those plans went off without a hitch? An extremely small number, right? Why? Because life happens. You plan your workday and the boss interrupts your schedule. You have to leave early to pick up your kid from school because she got sick. Whatever. Life happened. You planned your family dinner, right? Your aunt ruined your family dinner plan by showing up late. She burnt the gravy. Somebody else is causing a bunch of drama at the dinner table. Nobody's getting along. Everything's tense and stressed. And what was going to be a beautiful family gathering around a common meal is now ruined. Your family vacation, of course, goes all wrong because your flight was delayed, so you missed your connecting flight and you got there too late to check in, so you had to sleep in your car that night and you were groggy in the morning, and just like that, your whole week can be ruined, not to mention your wife getting car sick, the kids fighting in the back, your pounding headache because of all of the above. Life happens. I don't even need to discuss what goes wrong with wedding plans and even blueprints for a house. You see, plans change, and they have to change because they are influenced by, if not completely dependent upon, our surroundings. Life happens. Now, how many of you have decided to lose weight? You decided to lose weight, so you believed you could. You went to the gym every day. You started eating healthier foods. You focused on your decision to lose weight, and you knew that you shouldn't go to the gym. You knew that you must go to the gym. You did what it took to get there, to burn more calories than you consumed. You did it. You have to realize that you are a force to be reckoned with. This world cannot stand in your way. Once you have made a decision, it can sure as heck try, but it better watch out because you can do anything that you set your mind to. You can transform any aspect of your life if you just get off your butt, stop shoulding, and start living. Take action. Only you can control your future. Life happens to your plans, and you have to deal with that, but that never means giving up. That always means pushing harder. You want to live your dreams? You want to be a hero? Stop sitting here, listen to me. Get out there and make it happen. Live on purpose. Live with passion. You have the power. Believe in yourself. Act on that belief. Stay focused and stick to your decisions. Thank you very much.